Yi Futian had done a lot of things for Four Corner Village, indeed. He was the one who helped little Ling gain the awakening and inherit the divine technique. Yi Futian had done a lot of things for Four Corner Village, indeed. He was the one who helped little Ling gain the awakening and inherit the divine technique. After that, he brought together the young people in the village and directed them to cultivate under the ancient tree, which helped them start their cultivation journey. Fang Xiyuan and Duo Yu both gained awakening subsequently. It could be argued that 3 divine techniques emerged owing to Yi Futian. Therefore, Yi Futian certainly made a considerable contribution to Four Corner Village. Having said that, Yi Futian was not a native of Four Corner Village. He was an outsider who possessed great fortune. Many people in the village believed that Yi Futian could be a good friend of Four Corner Village. The Muyun family's previous proposal for expelling Yi Futian wasn't amenable to reason. They seemed to be eager to kick him out after his service was no longer needed. Even so, the villagers weren't keen on the idea of making Yi Futian the village chief. Old Ma's suggestion started a commotion. Most people were not on board. Although Yi Futian had won some popularity and admiration in the village, it was not enough to make him the village chief. The village chief would have authority over the entire village. Obviously, Yi Futian was not esteemed enough. Perhaps more people would subscribe to the idea if Yi Futian was born and raised in the village. However, he was an outsider. Muyunlan was only looking after himself while Yi Futian was not from the village. Some people felt that it was a shame that their advantages couldn't be combined. There was no perfect choice. Old Ma, are you joking? Muyunlan spoke in a disdainful tone. Everyone in the village knows that Yi Futian used his good fortune to help little Ling gain the awakening. Are you repaying your personal debt to him in this way? Handing over the entire Four Corner Village on a silver platter? You have no selfish interests indeed. What an admirable person you are. Little Ling isn't the only one who received Yi Futian's help. A large number of villagers only started cultivating thanks to him. Of course, no one can compare to the head of the Muyun family, who made a desperate attempt to stop someone from gaining awakening and inheriting the divine technique. That is truly admirable, Old Ma sneered and snapped back. Appointing Mr. Yi as our village chief is my suggestion. Little Ling and I certainly support the motion. The Muyun family disapproves. What about the other 5 families? I agree with Old Ma. Blind Tai assented right away. He and Old Ma were certainly of one mind. Wait a moment, Muyunlan interrupted the voting process. I have to say that you hatched a good plan. 4 inheritors acknowledged Yi Futian as their master and sent him to the top directly. You have no right to speak here. As soon as Yi Futian's voice fell, he heard a chiding coming from Muyun Shu. There was hostility in the boy's eyes. You have no right to speak here. As soon as Yi Futian's voice fell, he heard a chiding coming from Muyun Shu. There was hostility in the boy's eyes. He had always been a favorite in the village, spoiled and doted by many people. Everyone had made provisions for him until Yi Futian showed up in the village. Then, everything changed. Now, these rascals actually proposed to expel him from the village, to chase him, Muyun Shu, the number 1 amongst his generation of the Four Corner Village, out of the village. How unthinkable and preposterous. Kid, shut your mouth. Fang Gai barked at Muyun Shu. He never liked Muyun Shu and had suppressed his dislike for him all these years. Now that he could make his own choices, the Muyun family must be expelled from the village. Although the Muyun family may elevate the overall strength of Four Corner Village, their hearts were no longer for the village, so what would be the use of allowing them to stay? On the contrary, the stronger they became, the greater the threat they posed to the village. Someone who's been expelled from the village had no right to speak. Young Fang Xian also stepped forward to scold Muyun Shu. Muyun Shu stared at Fang Xiyuan. The fierceness in his eyes was tinged with a faint murderous intent. Fang Xiyuan's eyes were full of contempt as he returned the stare without fear. In the village, Fang Xian had always been one of the boys who were not afraid of Muyun Shu. Now that he had inherited the divine technique, he had no reason to fear much, especially when this punk dared to shout at his master. You want to die? Muyun Shu stepped forward. The aura upon his body roared madly. Think I'm afraid of you? Fang Xiuan stepped forward as well. The two youths faced each other pointedly. They were of similar age, and both had inherited the divine technique, so neither feared the other. Muyunlong and Muyunlan didn't stop them. Fang Gai and the others also just watched quietly. Tai too wanted to step in to help, but blind Tai stopped him with a hand on his shoulder as if allowing the two youths to continue their conflict by themselves. Buzz. The intention of the great path circulated as Muyun Shu levitated into the air. A magnificent vision now formed behind him, and it was the picture of the domineering golden rock. He surveyed Fang Xin, who was below, and yelled, "Get up here!" Fang Xin soared into the air, with the light of the great path lingering around his body. Countless streamers of light flowing about, creating a small world in this space. In this small world, the phenomena of heaven and earth were abound with endless changes. There were mountains and rivers and changes in the universe. It was as if a world was hidden in this small space. Fang Xian had inherited the divine technique, miniature world, one of the 7 great divine techniques. Yi Futian suspected that Fang Gai had always known that they had the potential to inherit the divine technique of miniature world, hence the reason for Fang Xiuan's name. Now, it seemed that Fang Xiuan was justified to inherit the divine technique of miniature world. Buzz. The wind was raging as the wings formed by countless divine lights slashed down. Golden brilliance tore through the space as Muyun Shu rushed towards Fang Xiuan. His eyes were extremely cold, revealing his desire to end Fang Xiuan's life right here. All the grown-ups were looking at them, and their hearts slightly trembled. Muyun Shu was but a teenager, but the strength he exhibited was truly frightening. It painted a terrifying picture. Even the war between grown men could be no fiercer. Buzz. Divine light smashed down and pierced into the miniature world, but now countless rays of light were blooming inside of it. They shattered Muyun Shu's attack so that it could not get close to Fang Xiuan within the miniature world. The wind tore through the space as Muyun Shu swooped down, and his wings spread wide to shield the sky. Like a truly sacred golden rock, it tried to bisect the space and split it in two. If Fang Xiuan were to be hit by it, he would no doubt be cut in half. A bright vision erupted from the picture of the domineering golden rock. Tai Tu and the other youths watched anxiously, worried that Fang Xiuan would get hurt. Boom! The miniature world exploded around Fang Xiuan. Suddenly, mountains slammed down as rivers were rushing. A terrible sight appeared between heaven and earth. The radiant golden rock swooped down to break through those mountains and rivers, continuing its way through. Fang Xiuan's eyes still showed some determination as an extremely sharp light flashed through them. A golden light burst out from the miniature world, like infinite golden divine wings. In the next moment, the crowd saw that several golden rocks had appeared. Buzz. One gigantic golden rock rose against the momentum as if trying to tear through the sky. It collided with Muyun Shu, who was coming in for the kill. The void shook violently as 2 golden divine lights clashed. Muyun Shu was knocked backward, and so was Fang Xian. The 2 young men separated, but Muyun Shu couldn't hide the great shock in his eyes. Golden Rock Heaven Slayer technique. Not just Muyun Shu, but everyone around them was speechless, to say the least. Everyone in the village was stunned. Even old Ma and Fang Gai stood up and stared at Fang Xian in disbelief. What was going on? In addition to the miniature world, how could he also know of the Golden Rock Heaven Slayer technique? Although it was not in its orthodox form and far from flawless as the one released by Muyun Shu, it was indeed the Golden Rock Heaven Slayer technique, just in a less completed form. However, the essence of the technique was clearly detectable. Even Muyunlong and Muyunlan had their hearts pounding. Their eyes were glued to Fang Xian as Muyunlong looked at Fang Gai coldly and said, "How did you steal it? Had it been leaked by Muyun Shu?" Fang Gai looked bewildered because he didn't know how this could have happened either. He looked at Fang Xian and shouted, "Fang Xian, what's going on?" Fang Xiuan turned and glanced at Yi Futian. When he saw Yi Futian nodded to give him permission, Fang Xian said, "Didn't the master already said? Even if the people leave the village, the divine techniques remain. The divine techniques belong to the village. No one can take it away, and no one is irreplaceable." Fang Xiuan's words and his actions were heard and seen by everyone. In an instant, all eyes were on Yi Futian once again. Was it taught by him? Muyunlong's expression was gloomy and cold. Fang Xiyuan knew the Golden Rock Heaven Slayer technique, which meant that Yi Futian had already begun teaching him before he officially became Fang Xiyuan's teacher when everyone was still looking for opportunities. Why would Yi Futian do this? It seemed that this was pointed at them. Even as they went to Old Ma's house that day to chase Yi Futian away, and when Old Ma proposed to expel Muyun family, Yi Futian had already begun to lay the trap for them. No one was irreplaceable. So that even without the Muyun family in the village, the divine techniques would still be here. No wonder Fang Xian treated Yi Futian differently, following him around, trying to apprentice under him. Fang Gai was a little shocked. He didn't expect to be kept in the dark or that his kids' lips were this tight. Nonetheless, he was ecstatic at this moment. It seemed that the Muyun family was destined to be out of the picture after all. He cast a sideways glance at Yi Futian, thinking that this man was more than meets the eye. He may look calm and nonchalant on the outside, but he had been plotting against the Muyun's family in secret. In fact, Yi Futian had no choice in the matter either. He had offended the Muyun family, and his identity had been exposed. Now that the ban had been lifted, he had to protect himself and avoid being expelled by Muyun Long. Otherwise, not even he could guarantee that there won't be some catastrophe in the near future. Muyun Shu regarded Yi Futian with gloomy eyes. How could he know of the Golden Rock Heaven Slayer technique? How did you do it? Muyun Long's eyes still focused on Yi Futian. The head of Muyun family had said before that I am a person of great fortune. Since I am a person of great fortune, I can see things that many can't. Although I cannot inherit the divine techniques, I can still learn something from them, said Yi Futian. So, do you mean that you have mastered all 7 great divine techniques? Muyun Long asked again. I can perceive them, Yi Futian replied. Muyun Long turned his head to look into the distance. So, you comprehended under the ancient tree because you could see more than the others. It seems that their awakening and cultivation were no coincidence after all. At this moment, Muyun Long knew that he had lost, truly and totally defeated. The ability exhibited previously by Fang Xiyuan suggested that Yi Futian could bring more to Four Corner Village than they had suspected before. In fact, he might already have brought more to them than they knew. The relationship between the Muyun family and Yi Futian was one that could never coexist. In addition, Yi Futian controlled 4 out of the 7 families, and they all supported Yi Futian. This meant that Muyun Long could no longer surpass Yi Futian in the opinions of the people in the village. He knew he was selfish, and Yi Futian had been working to promote Four Corner Village. If it weren't because Yi Futian was not a member of the village, he might indeed have already become the village chief. Muyun Long, the teacher, had witnessed everything. Now that a decision was made, why don't you leave on your own and save some dignity for yourself? The request for Muyun Long to withdraw from the 7 great families had been agreed by 4 of them, so even if the other 2 opposed, Muyun Long would still lose. Furthermore, Muyun Shu is arrogant beyond reason. He took action again today and said some crazy things. Please get him out of the village, he continued. Muyun Shu's eyes were extremely cold, but Muyun Long stood up and said, "Let's go." Once he finished speaking, he began to walk toward the outside, not intending to stay here any longer. This time, they had lost so completely that he was left with nothing to say. Muyun Long turned to take one last look at Yi Futian and the others, then left as well. He didn't expect that his return after so many years away would end like this. It was a bit ironic. Yi Futian and his people watched the Muyun family's departure, wondering if they would give up so easily and let this be the end of it. Probably not. Muyun Long had great ambition, while Muyun Shu was extremely arrogant. Coupled with the relationship between Muyun Long and the Nanhai family, things would not end so easily. The cultivators from the Nanhai family were now inside the village, including their elder Nanhai Wuji. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 21:18. Reluctant to leave. Chapter 21:18. Reluctant to leave. After Muyun Long and the others left, Old Ma looked at everyone and said, Muyun family's withdrawal means that we are 1 short of the 7 families. Now, we happen to have someone here who is an expert on divine techniques. I move to have him replace the Muyun family. What say you? Everyone instantly understood who Old Ma recommended. Undoubtedly, he meant Yi Futian, who had taught Fang Xian the divine technique he also cultivated. All eyes fell on Yi Futian as people in the village talked amongst themselves. Many agreed that Yi Futian did do a lot for the village. It would be a little overboard to nominate him as the village chief, but as long as he was willing to become a member of Four Corner Village, it would be acceptable for him to replace the Muyun family. What are you hesitating? Without the master, the village would never make it to this point. Are you saying that the master was less worthy than those devious people from the Muyun family? Fang Xian couldn't help but feel displeasure when he heard some dissenting whispers. Master Yi would indeed be the best candidate. Someone in the village spoke up for Yi Futian. Master Yi treated Duo Yu kindly, so that not only could he cultivate, but he also inherited the divine technique with Master Yi as his teacher. I support Master Yi, someone else piped up. More villagers started to express their opinions. They were simple and innocent in nature, and now more were giving their approval when they heard these testimonials. Old Ma then said, "Everyone, please take a stand." "Agreed," Blind Tai uttered. "I agree too," Duo Yu added quickly. "I'm fine with it," Fang Gai said. Now, for families had already agreed, which was more than half of the votes needed. "I agree too," Shi Kuei of the Shi family nodded his approval as he looked towards Yi Futian. Only the Gu family, which had always been closer to the Muyun family, had not yet expressed its position. Gu Huai, the head of the Gu family, now set his eyes on Yi Futian and said, "I have no objection." "Perfect," Old Ma said with a smile. "Now that everyone has agreed, it's decided. Master Yi, please." Yi Futian looked at Old Ma with a resigned smile. He had wanted to stay behind the scenes, but Old Ma seemed insistent in getting him involved. He had no choice but to walk up to the chair and faced everyone in Four Corner Village, saying, "Yi Futian, thank you for your trust." The sight pleased many people, especially for Yi Futian's disciples. The four youths smiled brilliantly. It seemed that they were able to keep the master in the village after all. Xia Qingyuan and the others were glad as well. They were the only outsiders who were allowed to participate in this discussion. Now Yi Futian had completely integrated into the village and became one of its members. "Master Yi, the matter regarding the Muyun family has been resolved, but now cultivators from all sides are in the village. If we chase them out directly, we will probably offend the entire Shangqing domain. What do you advise?" Old Ma asked Yi Futian. He was giving him a tough problem to solve right off the bat. This matter was indeed difficult to resolve. Any little carelessness would cause serious trouble. Let everyone know that the Four Corner Village is the same as before, opening up once every 4 years. The top forces in Shangqing domain may select a chosen few to enter the village to cultivate. Before this, only people of great luck may enter the village. Now, it can be changed so that only people with perfect great path may enter the village and limit their time inside the village. Yi Futian slowly said, "In addition, from now on, Four Corner Village will operate like other forces inside Shangqing domain, as a principality in its own right. If any cultivator from any forces wishes to enter the village outside the 4-year period, they may notify the village of their intent to visit. They may visit once the village has approved their request. From now on, the village would be the same as the other top forces in the Shangqing domain. It would become a force based in the Four Corner continent, and as such, it would not always be available to the outside world. A window every 4 years was a prudent choice and a good buffer. It was similar to what they had done in the past to avoid such changes from being opposed by other forces. That's doable. Old Ma nodded in agreement. The others also nodded. Yi Futian's idea was a pretty good one, taking the needs of both sides into consideration, as well as the feelings of all the principalities in the Shangqing domain. If they were not satisfied with this decision, it would be unreasonable on their end. After all, those principalities themselves would not be so willing to give unlimited access to the outside world themselves. Since the Four Corner Village decided to contact the outside world, they would exist as an entire principality in itself and no longer as a simple village. Everyone in the village nodded in agreement as well and approved Yi Futian's proposal. The other 6 presented no differing opinion, so the matter was considered unanimously approved. How long is the proper duration of cultivation for those principalities to stay inside Four Corner Village? Shirkuei asked. Let's make it 7 days. From this time forward, and starting from today, all forces may stay in the village for 7 days. After this time, they may not re-enter for 4 years. Old Ma spoke, and everyone nodded in agreement. Since the decision has been made, let's inform them, Shirkuei added, not knowing how people from other forces would react after hearing this and whether or not they would accept Four Corner Village's decision. The day of the sacrifice happens once every 4 years. In reality, no one would gain anything from entering the village. Normally, it's only every 4 years during this time that y'all would come here looking for opportunities. The day of the sacrifice only lasts a few days, so there really isn't much change to speak of. In addition, since Four Corner Village has now decided to join the world, it will become a principality in its own right. Friends of the village who want to come to cultivate may simply let us know in advance, and we will definitely host you with hospitality. However, if all you wanted was the right to come and go as you please, let me ask you this. Would the Nanhai family allow that on their own land? Fang Gai asked rhetorically, then ignored the man as he didn't much care about his reaction. Nanhai Wuji smiled and said, "It seems that the village is determined to drive us out. In that case, let's cherish these last few days here." No one said anything more. However, Yi Futian had a feeling that these people were communicating through voice transmission with each other. No one questioned or objected openly further. This land belonged to Four Corner Village, and the village had the right to make its own decisions without anyone's input. Unless they meant to take over the village, all they could do was remain silent. But the displeasure in this silence could be felt distinctly. Watching these people continue to cultivate, Fang Gai frowned slightly. He felt a little uncomfortable, feeling a sense of suppression. This silence, on the contrary, was ominous. Would these forces withdraw after 7 days? What were they planning on doing? Right now, no one knew the answer. The Muyun family did not leave the village, only Muyun Shu was expelled. They had ordered Muyun Shu to be sent to the Nanhai family. As for the others, they were still waiting. Perhaps they were waiting to see what would happen in Four Corner Village after 7 days? Watching everyone's reaction, Yi Futian realized that this matter would not end so easily. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2119, The Fallout. Chapter 2119, The Fallout. The next few days passed in relative peace at Four Corner Village. Everyone cultivated side by side, peacefully and quietly. Yi Futian was now a member of the Four Corner Village. He was allocated a residence of his own and often gave cultivation lessons to the young people under the ancient tree. Gradually, more and more youths embarked on the journey of cultivation. Currently, Yi Futian was sitting under the ancient tree, appeared to be at his leisure. In the distance, a woman stood there quietly, looking at Yi Futian. A voice was then transmitted to him, "Do you really have no plan to find an ally?" Yi Futian looked in the direction where the voice came from and saw an Ruosu there, radiant as ever. Yi Futian responded with voice transmission of his own, "What does the goddess wish to say?" He had researched the top principalities in Shangqing domain. And Ruosu came from the infamily of the upper ninth heavens, which belonged to the middle third heaven. It was a major principality in its own right. It was said that once, the infamily was an ancient dynastic power. In the past, an Ruosu would be considered a princess from an ancient royal family. Of course, even as a familial principality, it remained an ancient royal family. Its existence was backed by a profound history. And Ruosu sat far away without looking at Yi Futian. It was as if she didn't want people to know that they were in communication. "If you don't start gathering allies, I'm afraid Four Corner Village will be singled out," and Ruosu replied. Many things were not able to be sorted simply by reason. Although this land belonged to the Four Corner Village, Many forces had come to this land of great fortune and knew that it was a divine relic. Ask them to give it up now and leave as if nothing had happened would be easier said than done. Teacher is in the village, said Yi Futian. Although the teacher didn't interfere with affairs regarding the outside world, if someone was to do something to the village, the teacher couldn't ignore it. The teacher is indeed very strong. As far as we know in the Shangqing domain, the teacher's strength may be in the top 5 in the entire domain. However, this time it isn't just one principality that Four Corner Village is facing. In reality, these people also wanted to see just how powerful the teacher is. If he turned out to be stronger than expected, everything would be resolved. But if that is not the case, what do you think will happen? Do you have an idea of the teacher's strength? And Ruosu asked. It seems that the goddess knows some things that we don't. Yi Futian did not respond directly. From what Ruosu had said, he could deduce and reach conclusions on his own. Various forces might be allying preparation to deal with Four Corner Village. However, clearly, these forces had not yet fully reached an agreement, or Ruosu wouldn't be here talking to him. After all, they weren't all of the same force, and their minds and hearts weren't entirely aligned. It was not completely implausible that some of these principalities might use the pretense of allying as an attempt to undermine some of them, but at what price? Would they allow those in the alliance to come and go freely in the future? And Ruosu did not respond, but it was true that she did know quite a few things. In the past few days, various forces appeared to be comprehending and cultivating quietly, but that was not all they did. There were still people coming from the outside world even now. Four Corner Village's attempt to purge these forces from Shangqing domain might not go quite so easily. Thank you, goddess, for the reminder. I will think it over, Yi Futian added when he saw no response from Ruosu. And Ruosu did not try to persuade him further. She merely said, when you are ready, let me know. I will, Yi Futian replied. Ruosu then got up and left. Yi Futian left soon after as well. He found old Ma and asked him, as we expected, these forces may not give up easily this time, and we may yet face their anger. If we can't find a way to resolve the situation, they might take this opportunity to take over the village for themselves. Old Ma narrowed his eyes and said, even before Four Corner Village had any contact with the outside world, many in the village met an unfortunate fate. Blind Tai was just a more obvious example among them. In fact, there were some cultivators from the village that never returned once they left. Those people have wanted to return to Four Corner Village for a long time. If they find an opportunity, they will destroy this village without hesitation. Old Ma did not doubt the ruthlessness of these people. Such were the rules of the cultivation world. So, do we need to recruit a couple of forces? Yi Futian asked tentatively. Obviously, Old Ma knew more about the village than he did. His impression of Old Ma had long since changed. Old Ma probably knew a thing or two about the true strength of the village. No, I want to see what these greedy people are going to do. Old Ma said coldly, wait for me here. I'm going to find someone. Sure, Yi Futian nodded. It didn't take Old Ma long to come back with a cultivator who possessed a somewhat chilling aura. It was Gu Huai of the Gu family. Clan leader of the Gu family, Yi Futian got up and paid his respects. Gu Huai nodded slightly. Previously, he and Yi Futian had some unpleasant exchanges. When Mu Yunlong wanted to expel Yi Futian, Gu Huai had agreed. It was clear that Gu Huai supported Mu Yunlong at that time. However, the Mu Yun family was now out of the picture. Four Corner Village had rejected them. The divine technique that the clan leader cultivated is the ancient divine immortal form? Yi Futian said. It seems that this village could keep no secrets from Master Ye's prying eyes. Gu Huai stared at Yi Futian as he spoke. There was great aggression in his eyes, which made those around him a little unsettled. People in the village know that I was bestowed with good fortune. Over the years, my luck is indeed much better than most, so I can see many things inside the village that others can't. Yi Futian smiled and continued, of course, although I could perceive these divine techniques, they belong to Four Corner Village, and only the true descendants of the village may inherit them completely. Gu Huai nodded in acknowledgement. It was almost impossible for the others to learn of it completely. After all, this was the inheritance of Four Corner Village. Gu Huai, I know that Mu Yunlong had a good relationship with you before, and you have always wanted to experience the outside world. Now that the teacher has given his permission, the village will be a force in Shangqing domain in the future. However, various forces now seem to intend on making Four Corner Village a target, and you must have seen the position taken by the Mu Yun's family. I hope you will make your own decisions, Old Ma said. Gu Huai looked toward him and heard Old Ma continued, no matter what, you are a member of the village. The Mu Yun family has forgotten about this, but I believe you won't. Gu Huai's expression was somewhat serious. At this time, Yi Futian said, there were some misunderstandings with the elder before, but now that I am a member of the village, I will endeavor to do my best to assist the young people of Four Corner Village. The potential of Four Corner Village will inevitably shake up the entire Shangqing domain. Looking at Yi Futian and Old Ma, Gu Huai seemed a little displeased. He turned around and walked outside. Old Ma and Yi Futian looked a little surprised. At this time, Gu Huai stopped and said, Old Ma, you underestimated me. As he finished speaking, he went away. But Old Ma smiled instead and said, in a few days, we will come to you and make amends. He knew that this matter had been settled. He was worried that the conflict would become a thorn between Gu Huai and Yi Futian. Considering that Gu Huai was close to Mu Yunlong before, he deliberately approached Gu Huai. However, it seemed that he was overly concerned. Just as he had said himself, no matter what, Gu Huai was still a member of the Four Corner Village. In a blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. On this day, Fang Gai, Old Ma, and the others came to the ancient tree and saw that the cultivators from all forces gathered here. They were facing different directions. They focused on their cultivation as if nothing was happening. Everyone, 7 days are up. Our village is small. We won't keep everyone any longer, Fang Gai said as he stepped forward. As if they hadn't heard it, they remained quietly cultivating. Only in one direction, someone spoke up, is this the way of hospitality in Four Corner Village? There are no forces that would wait on their guests as you seem to expect here. If there is, Four Corner Village surely has done far more, Fang Gai replied. However, no one paid any attention to them. The sight disturbed Fang Gai, Old Ma, and the others greatly. Clearly, they were acting this way deliberately. Everyone. Fang Gai's voice cooled a few degrees. He continued, the time has come. Please give back Four Corner Village its tranquility. All the forces in Shangqing domain have gathered in our village. This is supposed to be a grand occasion to be celebrated, and the village should have treated our guests with hospitality. What is the meaning of this, Fang Gai? Mu Yunlong asked. Mu Yunlong. Fang Gai looked at him indifferently. It seemed that Mu Yunlong was prepared to side with outsiders, after all. For many years, this place has always been a holy land of the Shangqing domain. On this land, there is Four Corner Village, in which the villagers were hospitable and friendly. In return, we also respected Four Corner Village and dared not blaspheme the village in the least. But now, Four Corner Village is ready to take this place for its own, expelling all others for self-interest, purging all dissidents, and depriving the head of the Mu Yun family of control over the village. It is devious indeed. A voice was heard, and it was a cultivator from the Nanhai family. In his words, he separated this space from Four Corner Village. It was as if this place was just a place of cultivation in the Shangqing domain and Four Corner Village was just a part of the Holy Land, completely separating the two. Hearing such words, the people in Four Corner Village were greatly angered as their eyes directed coldly at the speaker. That's right, if you are cultivating in the same space, then let's not reject each other. It's much better if you can coexist in peace. Someone else continued, but if Four Corner Village insists on having its way, then we will have no choice but to seek justice for the Mu Yun family. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. This was already a direct threat. The Nanhai family used the Mu Yun family as an excuse to put Four Corners Village in a difficult situation. They actually wanted to seek justice for the Muyun family. This reason was somewhat laughable. It was completely illogical. However, under such circumstances, they were looking for an excuse to give Four Corners Village a warning. If they wanted to banish the Muyun family, it would lead to war. The members of the other forces listened as they sat quietly. They did not say anything. However, this silence seemed to represent their stance on the matter in and of itself. Nanhai family, you are forcefully segregating a portion of Four Corners Village away. You also want to interfere with the matters of the village, Old Ma said. If that is the case, I believe that the name of Nanhai family can be removed from the guest list of the next open day that we have every 4 years. In the future, the Nanhai family will be forbidden from stepping foot into the village. What are your opinions on this? Only natural, Blind Tai said coldly. No problem, said Fongai as he nodded his head. The others also revealed their stance on the matter one after another. This scene caused the cultivators of the Nanhai family to reveal ugly expressions. Their family would be forbidden from stepping foot into Four Corners Village? Also, Muyun Long, are you conspiring with the Nanhai family to stand against the village? Old Ma said as he looked at Muyun Long, the village is in the wrong in this matter. As a member of Four Corners Village, am I not even qualified to voice out my opinion? Replied Muyun Long in a cold, indifferent tone. Understood, Old Ma replied, nodding his head. If that is the case, I suggest that Muyun Long has betrayed the village. From this day forth, the entire Muyun family will be banished from the village. What are your opinions on this? Agreed. Blind Tai and the others revealed their stance on the matter. Very quickly they all agreed. They would not just strip Muyun Long of his authority in the village but would also banish the entire family. The Muyun family was no longer a part of Four Corners Village. I never imagined that, having grown up in the village, I would one day be banished, Muyun Long mumbled. He seemed to be self-deprecating and mocking himself. After he left Four Corners Village, he was renowned far and wide and entered the Nanhai family. He was currently a prominent figure in the Shangqing domain. However, upon returning to the village, he was not received gloriously but was instead rather from the village. It was a mockery. If that was the case, he did not need to show any respect to the village. Nanhai family and Muyun family, please leave, ordered Old Ma. Nanhai Wuji took a step forward. He only took one step, and the space around him suddenly felt suffocating. A vast divine might enveloped this entire small world. The ordinary folk in the village felt that it was difficult to breathe. They revealed pained looks, and their hearts started to beat intensely. They felt as though the entire world was about to collapse. Are all of you sure of your decision? Nanhai Wuji asked in a loud voice. His voice shook the heavens and the earth, causing the space to tremble. He stood there like a deity with unparalleled authority. The members of Four Corners Village had very cold expressions. Nanhai Wuji was a giant-level figure. Such a figure had powerful destructive capabilities. He could easily destroy a part of this vast space. If a battle of such a scale were to erupt in this space, the village might not be able to cope with it. The villagers would not be able to withstand such a threat. Nanhai Wuji's body gradually floated into the air. He peered into the distance and said, I have long heard of Master's name. I came to Four Corners Village but have yet to catch a glimpse of Master. I wish to meet Master to ask whether the way Four Corners Village treats its guests is rather inappropriate. As he said this, he took a step forward. He wanted to head over to the private school. In Four Corners Village, the strongest person was the legendary Master. However, no one knew how strong Master was. Nanhai Wuji wanted to find out for himself. However, just as he stepped out, an extremely dazzling divine halo exploded in the sky. The brilliant divine halo shot directly towards Nanhai Wuji, causing him to stop in his tracks. He took a step back and saw a golden divine door appear, separating the space. Then a silhouette slowly rose into the air and floated there, blocking in front of Nanhai Wuji. When they saw the person, everyone's gazes were frozen there as they revealed looks of amazement. Many people in the village, including the cultivators of the Muyun family, were also looking at the silhouette in surprise. How is this possible? Muyun Long said in a low voice. The silhouette floating in midair was actually Old Ma. He was someone who never stood out and whom many people believed was an ordinary person who could not cultivate. He had never revealed the aura of a cultivator. He was just an ordinary person. However, his one attack was powerful beyond comparison and blocked Nanhai Wuji's path. He was also a giant-level figure. "Old Ma!" exclaimed Yi Futian as he looked up at the silhouette. He had already speculated that there was more to Old Ma than met the eye. However, he was still astonished when he witnessed Old Ma's ability. He was actually so powerful. No wonder Old Ma seemed exceptionally confident recently. He probably was not planning on hiding this fact. Spatial divine halos radiated from Old Ma's figure, seemingly forming its own domain as he stared at Nanhai Wuji. "You are still unqualified to meet Master," Old Ma said as he looked at Nanhai Wuji. At that moment, Old Ma raised his head and looked into the distance. A few beams of frightening aura came from afar and descended upon Four Corners Village. The next moment, he saw a few illusory figures appear above them. When these figures appeared, the space seemed to be frozen. Countless divine lights rained down and enveloped everyone. Even the powerful Renhuangs felt that they were insignificant. Yi Futian also looked over in that direction. 3 figures had arrived. These 3 figures appeared ethereal, seemingly somewhat illusory, like they weren't corporeal. It was as though they were spirits who had left their bodies. They also seemed as though they were formed from the will of the Great Path and had come from beyond this world, descending upon Four Corners Village. Old Ma looked up at them. Beams of divine light shone, attempting to block off the 3 figures. However, the 3 figures immediately passed through the divine light and continued to advance. "We heard that Four Corners Village was about to join the world, so we came over specifically to pay Master a visit," a voice said. The voice filled the space and caused the entire village to tremble. The next moment, the 3 silhouettes became 3 beams of divine light descended upon the private school. At the same time, a 4th aura appeared. A dazzling divine halo shot up into the heavens, causing brilliant divine light to appear in the sky above. Everyone knew that this was Master. Who could the 3 figures be? The crowd was astonished. Old Ma had displayed his powerful ability. Yet, he had actually been unable to block off the 3 of them. It was apparent how frighteningly powerful the 3 figures were. At this moment, even Nanhai Wuji did not move. He naturally knew who those 3 figures were. They were 3 existences who could cause the Shangqing domain to tremble by just stomping their feet. Today, they had come together. It was apparent how highly they viewed Four Corners Village as well as Master. The importance of the village was far greater than anyone could imagine. Four Corners Village joining the world had immediately spurred them to pay a visit. Yi Futian glanced at the crowd. He saw that the members of the top forces of the Shangqing domain all revealed respectful expressions. He roughly guessed what level of existence the 3 figures who arrived were at. They were probably among the few standing at the peak of the Shangqing domain who came to Four Corners Village wanting to see Master's ability. As he turned around, Yi Futian looked towards the private school. 4 beams of divine light immediately pierced the heavens. Although a battle did not ensue, an unparalleled might enveloped the space. Divine phenomena even appeared in the village at the same time. A golden-winged giant prung bird spread its wings and soared in the sky. A divine hammer suppressed the heavens and the earth. An immortal old god stood in the sky. These divine phenomena were originally difficult to see. However, right now, they had manifested. This scene caused the people in the village to be filled with awe. What level of existence was Master exactly? Over here, no one continued to battle. Everyone had stopped doing so. They understood that the most crucial battle was over where Master was. If Four Corners Village wanted to join the world and become a superpower, they had to pass this stage first. In that direction, the light grew brighter and brighter. Not long after, a blinding divine light radiated outwards. The next moment, among the divine light that burst forth, the crowd could faintly make out the 3 silhouettes disappearing in a flash. The suppressive aura disappeared without a trace in an instant. Retreat from Four Corners Village. Congratulations to Four Corners Village for joining the world. From this day forth, the Shangqing domain has another holy land." Ethereal voices cried out, causing the hearts of the crowd to tremble slightly. Even the chief elder of the Nanhai family, Nanhai Wuji, could not remain calm. Were the three figures acknowledging the position of Four Corners Village in the Shangqing domain? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Master advised, "You do not need to know about this in detail. It might just be that right now is the best opportunity. Now, everyone in the village can cultivate freely. Even if they don't cultivate a flawless great path, it will not end in tragedy. However, as to what the village will do after it joins the world, all of you need to think carefully about it. In the future, the village will no longer be separated from the world. It will be the same as other forces and will need to develop and expand. Otherwise, others will look down on us. The people who left the village before this are good examples to learn from. With Master around, what do we need to fear?" Shirkuei said. "For many years, I never left this place for special reasons. I have been given restrictions and cannot leave the village. Hence, you will need to depend on yourselves in the outside world," Master continued. This caused them to be somewhat surprised. That meant that Master could only protect those in the village. Once one left the village, Master might not be able to do anything. Joining the world was the collective will of yourselves and Four Corner Village. Whether it is a blessing or a curse, you should go out and see the prosperity of the world. You are destined to pay some price for doing so. From this day forth, the village is no longer the village that does not concern itself with outside matters. Instead, we need to face the conflict of the outside world. I hope that all of you can defend your decision," Master continued. They nodded their heads seriously. They all had stern expressions. Master was reminding them and making sure that they were alert. Master recommended, "Of course, with your abilities, all of you will not lose to the other top forces. However, Four Corner Village has a serious generational gap. We do not need to act too hasty. I suggest that we fortify and increase everyone's cultivation planes and cultivate the next generation of cultivators." "Understood," Old Ma said as he nodded his head. "The juniors who inherited the divine techniques should grow very quickly. Their cultivation environment is far superior to that of all of you. They will be the future of Four Corner Village," Master said. "That is all I have to say. All of you may leave." As they got up, Master looked at Yi Futian and said, "You, stay." Yi Futian felt somewhat strange. However, he still nodded his head and remained here. The others were perplexed. They did not know what Master wanted to say to Yi Futian. After they left, Master said to Yi Futian, "Thank you." Yi Futian looked at Master. He then understood what Master meant. Before this, Fang Gai had asked what had caused the change of the laws. In reality, it was because of Yi Futian. He had changed everything. "Master, you do not need to thank me. This was all a fateful encounter," Yi Futian replied. He himself did not have such ability. It was all because of the world tree. This isn't a coincidence. He was almost as tall as an adult. There was still a glint of youthfulness on his face. His eyes were sparkling. One could tell with a glance that he was a smart guy. Only this brat dared to disturb Yi Futian while he cultivated. Little Ling, Duo Yu, and the rest would wait beside him if they saw him cultivating. Master would not do so. If Master were cultivating in seclusion, you would have an invisible barrier around you. If there isn't one, that means that Master is merely meditating, Fang Xiuan said with a smile. He seemed to understand Yi Futian very well. Yi Futian glared at him and said, "Speak your mind. What seems to be the matter?" "Master, I heard that a city has been built outside of the village. Now it has grown quite spectacular. There are countless cultivators in the city. Little Ling, Tai Tu, and the others wish to go take a look around the city," Fang Xiuan said. There was a faint look of anticipation in his eyes. Although Four Corner Village decided to join the world, Master had previously instructed Yi Futian and the others to remain in the village to cultivate for the past year. They had not left at all. They heard that a huge change was happening beyond the village. The elders said that, before this, the lands beyond the village were desolate. Now, upon hearing that their four-corner village was about to join the world, the outside world built a city. The youths were naturally curious and wanted to go out and take a look. For people of this age group, it was natural for them to like having fun and be curious. It was especially so for Fong Ciyuan. This brat was originally mischievous. Now that he would soon be 15, how could he possibly stay put in the village? Little Ling, Tai Tu, do the two of you want to venture out? Yi Futian shouted into the distance. Soon, the two youths appeared beside Yi Futian and replied, "Master, no we don't." Fong Xian slapped his forehead with his palm. His lies had been exposed mercilessly. These two fellows were not reliable at all. Duo Yu followed the two and joined the group. Since the four youths had become Yi Futian's disciples, they were very close with each other. They would cultivate together and spar with each other. Fong Xian was the eldest among the four, and he was smarter, so he crowned himself the eldest brother. Tai Tu was the second while Little Ling was the third. Duo Yu was younger and more introverted, so he was the youngest brother. Staring at the four youths in front of him, Yi Futian sensed that time had indeed passed by quickly. Especially since they were children, they grew up in the blink of an eye. When he first came to the village and met them, they still looked like little kids. However, they were all teenagers now. They were at the height of their youth. Duo Yu, has Fong Xian been bullying you? Yi Futian asked Duo Yu, who was standing at the very back. No, Duo Yu replied as he shook his head. Elder brother Fong Xian has been very kind to me. Chapter 21-23, Attack? Chapter 21-23, Attack, wow. Gazing at the magnificent city far away from a high vantage point, Fong Ciyuan could not help but express his fascination. Was this the outside world? At that moment his eyes lit up. The outside world must be quite fascinating. It was no wonder his father, as well as every generation before him, went out to explore. So big. Little Ling also mumbled with a look of yearning. Growing up in the village and having spent their entire lives in the village, this was the first time they went out and saw the outside world. In the past, they had only got to know the outside world from afar. So many people. The sky is filled with flying people. Tai Tu looked at the people flying around in the sky. Only Duo Yu remained silent while looking at everything. While he was more cheerful than before, it was not a complete change. He was still introverted and did not like to speak that much. However, his eyes still oozed an expectant look. So, the village is only so small, and there are so many people outside, he thought. Yi Futian looked at the four teenagers and could not help but lament a little bit. These teenagers were only starting to step into the world. In the past, they had thought that their village was the entire world. Now, everything would change. However, it was hard to say they would forever hold on to the same kind of teenage naivety and pureness. Back when Blind Tai and the others left the village, they also had similar feelings. However, the cruel world would ultimately change everything. Come, let's go out and explore, said Yi Futian. After that, they leaped into the sky and headed towards their destination. Not long after, they arrived in Four Corner City. Four Corner City's streets were wide. The flow of people from both sides of the street never stopped. In the past year or so, countless practitioners had moved into the city from afar. While Four Corner City had remained very quiet, they were not in a hurry. For a powerful faction, as long as they did not encounter a huge disaster, it could last for a very long time, thousands to tens of thousands of years at least. With such a long time horizon, it was natural for the surrounding areas to grow and develop. Moreover, the complete opening of Four Corner Village was inevitable and would attract practitioners from the outside. Since they had already decided that they would join the world, they would surely head towards a path of greatness. By then, many opportunities would appear. Fong Xian led the other youngsters scurrying all over the place. The dazzling array of items on display in shops on the two sides of the street completely captured their attention. They had not even seen some of the clothes before. Blind Tai followed the teenagers from behind quietly, protecting them from danger. Yi Futian and the others followed further behind with smiles on their faces. Xia Qingyan said, "It sure is nice to be young without a worry or care in the world." She was a little envious of the teenagers. Pure and naive. It was because they knew and understood so little about the world that they could relax and enjoy it so much. I was like this too when I was a teenager. But my godfather taught me a lot of things, said Yi Futian with a chuckle. Everything that happened in Qingzhou seemed a century ago. His memory from back then had become hazy, and it seemed like it was such a long time ago. Time corrodes memories. Xia Qingyuan looked at him. Unlike Yi Futian, when she was a teenager, she was the proud daughter of Emperor Xia, the master of Emperor Xia's realm, and as such she also knew a lot of things. She was a lot more mature than her peers. The two of them grew up in completely different environments, and the environment that Yi Futian grew up in seemed a lot more relaxed. However, it being so relaxed had also made everything he experienced later so much harder. I'd like to meet your godfather, mumbled Xia Qingyuan. Why? Yi Futian asked with a chuckle. I'd like to see what kind of person created a person like you. Xia Qingyuan looked at Yi Futian. In truth, I'd also like to know what kind of person he is, Yi Futian replied with a smile. He did not understand his godfather as well. Hey, you guys, slow down a little, Yi Futian shouted at the teenagers in front of them. Then he picked up his pace to catch up to the 4 teenagers in front. The teenagers had become excited and had winds in their steps. After a few hours, they were still running around everywhere. 3 of them had new outfits on. Little Tai, Tai 2, and Duo Yu's outfits were quite simple before. At that moment, it was like they had become someone else completely. They looked a lot more lively as their bodies oozed the vigors of youth. Brother Fong Xin, just how big is this city? How come we haven't finished exploring it no matter how much we explore? Little Ling asked Fong Xiuan, who was standing beside her. This is nothing. At our pace, we can't even finish exploring an entire city in a year, replied Fong Xiuan. Little Ling looked at him in shock. Was it so big? Stop. At that moment, a voice appeared. Blind Tai stepped on the ground and created a formless wave that led to a low grumble from the ground. Everyone walking around the area stopped moving. Their hearts trembled violently. Even the houses on the sides were trembling. Babum babum. Hearts beat faster as gazes shifted towards Blind Tai, who continued to stand there. His might completely shrouded the place and spread further away. Everyone could feel the suffocating pressure. Fong Xiuan and the other 3 teenagers also stopped moving and turned around to look at Blind Tai. Fong Xin, come back! Yi Futian shouted. Fong Xiuan and the others turned around to walk toward where they came from. From afar, several beings with frightening aura had arrived, and they were headed towards their location. At that moment, many people in the surrounding area regained their senses and immediately understood what was going on. They quickly scattered and left the area. They had realized that a battle between some powerful characters was about to take place. Bang bang bang. Buildings began to crumble while the blue stones on the ground also started to crack. A powerful windstorm blew toward them. Blind Tai took a step forward. A dull rumbling sound rang in the air, and in an instant, the space around them and everything within it trembled. Chasms appeared on the ground, and the windstorm was actually unable to progress further. It was stopped in its tracks outside the space that Yi Futian's group occupied. From afar, several powerful Renawangs had arrived, and they looked toward Yi Futian's group. This was the largest and most intense conflict since the founding of Four Corner City. The aura belonged to a person at the mighty level. Did the people from Four Corner Village come? They saw Yi Futian, Blind Tai, and the teenagers and guessed where they had come from. They were most likely from Four Corner Village. However, who was the one who initiated the attack? Back then, 3 peak figures arrived at the village. After that, they recognized the existence of Four Corner Village and gave the order to leave Four Corner Village. Now, so many powerful cultivators had come again. Did that mean that they had not yet completely given up? Bam! Blind Tai took a step forward. This body seemed to have grown tall and stalwart. He stretched out his arm and opened his palm. Then, in an instant, a hammer of Tianshan appeared in his palm. At the same time, beautiful and vague patterns appeared behind him. It was as if a Tianshan had appeared. Blind Tai swung his arm forward. In the direction of his swing, heaven and earth shook and crumbled. Everything within 100 miles of in that direction had been annihilated, only ashes were left. Moreover, those were only the aftereffects caused by the main attack. The real attack directly struck one of those powerful practitioners. It was an elder. His expression changed completely. He whose cultivation level had already reached the sky was actually feeling a tiny sense of powerlessness at that moment. With his body as the center, a terrifying windstorm appeared. However, at that moment, the windstorm was completely suppressed. Rumble! The hammer of Tiantian slammed downward and, accompanied by an excruciating shout, the elder was gone, and only ashes remained. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. The light was blinding, and even though he could not see, he could feel the blinding divine light. Blind Tai knew that 2 big shots had arrived. However, his expression was the same. He stood there like an iron tower. "Who goes there?" Blind Tai shouted, his voice shaking heaven and earth. Underneath him, Yi Futian and the others stood there. When he saw the people who appeared, Yi Futian seemed calm, but a tinge of coldness could be seen in the glint in his eyes. He recognized the 2 big shots who had arrived. They were not big shots of the Shangqing domain. Instead, they came from the Donghua domain. They had come for him. The great Yan ancient royal family's overlord from the Donghua domain, Emperor Yan, and Ling Yun's, the Ling Shao Palace's palace lord in Donghua domain's Donghua heavens. They had actually come to Four Corner City to find him. However, the grudge between them did not reach the point where they would give their lives to get even with him. Even if one were to ignore everything that happened back then at the Donghua banquet and only focused on what happened after, Yi Futian murdering one of the parties in the marriage alliance between the 2 major factions, the prince of the Great Yan ancient royal family and with the groom's bride escort team of the Great Yan, the Great Yan ancient royal family would never let him go. After all, the marriage had fallen apart. Moreover, at that time, he displayed a strength that could kill a cultivator on the 9th plane level. As such, the people who appeared were naturally only incredibly powerful big shots. Otherwise, they'd have no chance of taking him down. Not to mention the fact that Yi Futian now also had the backing of Four Corner Village. As such, 2 powerful big shots had to kill him. "I come from the Donghua domain. Yi Futian is a wanted person in our Donghua domain. He had committed an unforgivable crime in the Donghua domain. Our domain lord personally issued this wanted notice. We come today to bring him back to the Donghua domain," said Emperor Yan, his voice causing the entire sky to tremble. Everyone in Four Corner City could hear his voice. They were incredibly shocked. They had also heard of Yi Futian of the Four Corner Village before. They had heard that this person was instrumental in the changes that took place at the Four Corner Village. They never expected that he was a wanted person from the Donghua domain. Now, 2 powerful big shots from the Donghua domain had come to get him. "He is now a resident of our village," said Blind Tai. Clearly, Four Corner Village would not hand him over. They would protect Yi Futian. It looks like there's no need to waste time talking anymore. Ling Yunzi, the palace lord of the Lingshao Palace, took a step forward. In an instant, the sky changed color, and a suffocating force slammed downward and covered the entirety of Four Corner City. The sky looked like it was about to crumble. The 9-level Ling Shao Pagoda stirred the sky, and as if all the power of the Great Path had merged into it, from beneath the pagoda, a ray of divine light shot down toward Blind Tai. The dull sound caused heaven and earth to shake violently. In only a moment, multiple buildings in Four Corner City were destroyed. Countless gazes focused on the area right beneath the pagoda. Blind Tai's body seemed like it had transformed into a Tiantian. Countless beams of divine light of the Great Path came from every direction and landed on his body. Then he brandished his divine hammer and swung it up toward the sky, trampling over everything in the world, divine hammer of the protector. When the 2 attacks collided with each other, the sky seemed to split. Bright lights filled the sky, and Blind Tai's Tiantian-like body was sent flying down. He slammed feet first into the ground, creating a huge and deep hole in the ground. His plane level was slightly lower. He was a Renhuang of the 8th plane with a perfect grade great path. Ling Yunzi lowered his head to glance at Blind Tai. Practitioners with perfect grade great paths were very hard to deal with. Their blood forces were infinitely exuberant and powerful. Their spiritual soul or physical bodies could be considered perfect. Reaching the 8th plane level meant that he was very close to the peak. Even he could not directly kill him. Just as he prepared to strike again, Emperor Yen beside him also took a step forward. Many cultivators inside Four Corners City rose into the sky. They were all here to deal with Yi Futian's group. This time, 2 big shots were leading the lot from the Shangqing domain. Then, at that moment, rays of light spread all across the sky. Everyone lifted their heads and saw a figure high up in the sky. The figure stood there as bright divine lights spread from his body. It was beautiful and absolutely captivating. The divine lights spread to 8 sides of Four Corner City like spatial doors flying in their own direction. Before long, everyone could see that the divine lights of the great path that had spread in several directions were now rippling and flowing in the sky. The spatial doors seemed to have merged and transformed into one giant spatial light screen that spanned across and covered the entire Four Corner City. This is sealing the city. The people in Four Corners City saw the scene unfold before them in utter shock. The figure standing high in the sky had directly sealed Four Corners City. He sealed the city using the great path of space, not allowing anyone to exit the city. No one would have expected a high-level battle like this taking place in Four Corners City only after a little more than a year since its founding. Moreover, a being close to being a god actually existed and had sealed Four Corners City. More people appeared. Fang Gai and Shirkue also appeared. Fang Gai moved to Yi Futian and his group's side and said to the teenagers, "Come to my side." Fang Xiuan and the others walked to Fang Gai's side. Then, an individual space was formed to protect the teenagers. When the people of Four Corners City saw that, they vaguely understood what was going on. It looked like Four Corner Village was already prepared. Moreover, the objective of their first large-scale battle was to establish themselves as a force not to be reckoned with. Four Corner Village people knew that powers from the outside world had their own devious plans and schemes. So, they would use this battle to establish themselves and show the world that they should stop thinking about Four Corner Village. Four Corner Village had come prepared. Naturally, Emperor Yen and the Lingshao Palace Lord were aware of this. They came after the people from the Shangqing domain invited them to deal with Yi Futian. They knew that they were being used. However, despite knowing that, they still came. The only reason was that Yi Futian needed to be killed. It could not wait any longer. It had not yet been that long since Yi Futian annihilated the groom's bride escort team. Now, he had joined the Four Corner Village and gained himself an amazing position. He now had a strong backing. If things were to continue like this, considering Yi Futian's talent and potential, he would only become even more difficult to deal with in the future. Also, noting the grudge between them, by the time Yi Futian grew strong enough, he would never forgive them so easily. Yi Futian would most certainly seek revenge. As such, even if they knew they were being used, they had still come. Moreover, they had to come personally. Otherwise, they would have no chance of killing Yi Futian. Our Four Corner Village encounters an assault the first time we enter the world. Since that is the case, we will kill all who came and took part today. No mercy. Old Ma said loudly with a cold tone. A murderous aura shrouded the entire Four Corner City. If they did not start killing today, the Four Corner Village would have a hard time growing in the future. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. The number of divine doors of space kept increasing. It was as if they were endless. Emperor Yen frowned. He sensed the power of the divine doors of space. Every single divine door seemed to possess an infinite amount of the power of the great path of space. The next moment, divine lights covered the sky, and countless divine doors of space shot towards Emperor Yen, completely wiping out the area around him. One of the 7 great divine techniques of the Four Corner Village, the incredibly powerful divine technique of releasing countless divine doors of space, eternal space, also known as space exile. Cultivators who had reached the peak of their cultivation level could send people into exile inside the deep and endless world of space, leaving them inside for the rest of their lives. People who had reached the level of a divine being could even create an entire world of space. The Tiantian created this divine technique. If the Tiantian were to use it, who knew how strong it could be? In a brief moment, Emperor Yen was stuck inside an endless overlapping space. The scene sent those watching underneath the sky into utter shock. They could only see Emperor Yan's figure becoming blurrier and smaller as if he was no longer in the same world. So powerful! The hearts and minds of the people in Four Corners City shook violently. Emperor Yen was an incredibly powerful figure from the Donghua domain. Was he going to be killed just like this? At that time, a huge and horrid battle was ongoing in another location. Ling Yunzi was also an incredibly strong figure. His strength could not be doubted. However, he was completely restrained. Blind Tai, Shi Kuei, and Gu Kuei, these three powerful cultivators, fought him at the same time. While the three had not yet reached the peak of the Renhuang Plain, every one of them was an 8th plane level being with a perfect grade Great Path who possessed amazing combat strength. Shi Kuei possessed the ancient divine immortal form and was already an incredible figure several years ago. He had the opportunity to step into the outside world. However, the outside world was too dangerous, and many who had left the village had met their demise. As such, he did not leave and decided to continue cultivating and training until he reached the peak plane level. With an immortal body, he could easily storm and dominate the world. Who could kill him by then? At the same time, he was also one of the people who strongly agreed to the Four-Corner Village entering the world. He had longed for this day since a long time ago. Naturally, he did not want to leave and not be able to return. Shi Kuei was undoubtedly powerful. The attack and defense of the starry great ape that he summons were unparalleled. Combining them with Blind Tai's unrivaled attack power, the three cultivators were able to fight and restrain Ling Yunzi. Four Corner Village's potential is too scary.